Hey guys, welcome back. This is Neon. We're going to talk about Funimation, the anime industry, and Vic Mignogna, and how I think that all of the controversy around Vic is going to have some blowback on Funimation and possibly on the entire anime industry if they don't fix it soon. So last night we did a live stream together, Geeky and I, and we talked a little bit in that live stream about some controversy about Vic's name being dropped from Dragon Ball Super Broly's listing on iTunes. Now, I did go out and check. Apparently, his name has been added back to that listing, but at the very, very bottom of the listing. So probably, like we'll put it there, but we really don't want to put it there. I mean, he was the namesake character in the movie, which did very, very well. And of course, this is when all the controversy really started, right? When the Broly movie did well. Now, this is just a recap. This was sort of what happened according to Bounding in the Comics. That basically Nick Rekieta Law on Twitter and YouTube pointed out that his name was removed from the credits on iTunes. Funimation wrote him back, and they were sort of like, "Oh golly, hey Nick, thanks for spotting this for us." And they did apparently put his name back, but it's almost like, some other people have pointed out that his name has been removed apparently from Full Metal Alchemist. It's been removed from Ruby. Now, I will have to check and see if it's been added back, but it's almost like they're intentionally unpersoning Vic due to the controversy. Now, it's not limited just to his name being removed and all of that. While things go to court, which they are. Vic is going to court to sue, I don't know who all he's suing. Lots of people, I think. Lots of people. So I go out to, let's see, One Angry Gamer today, and they're talking about the situation. They're talking about the Japan Times. They said the Japan Times... Now, okay, so the Vic situation has finally reached Japan, and they're commenting on the Vic situation. But the funny thing about the Japan Times article is it's almost like they're taking anime news networks' word for it as to what is actually going on here in the US. I don't think they're really paying very close attention to what's going on. And we'll talk a little bit about the Anime News Network and their connection to overseas media outlets here in a little bit. So Japan Times rehashes Anime News Network's spurious coverage of Vic Mignogna despite the lawsuit. Certain media outlets continue to persist with the narrative that the allegations against anime voice actor Vic Mignogna are legit. In fact, they're even doubling down, even in the face of Mignogna's lawsuit, which is seeking to put an end to the false accusations that have been circling about him. The latest step into the fray is Japan Times, who published an article on the 10th titled Me Too Allegations Royal U.S. Anime Conventions. And we'll talk a little bit about this article and, its angle here and some of the really angry comments. The article is about how people claiming to have been abused and making accusations against Vic has had an effect on U.S. anime conventions, and they seem to position the article to hope that it one day affects Japan too. However, the basis for the entire article hinges on a piece from Anime News Network, whose intent and claims were called into question when it was discovered some of the information was false. Japan Times wrote, Lindsay Loveridge, ANN's managing interest editor, compiled first-hand accounts, mostly anonymous, from a handful of fans and one cosplayer, all of whom felt mistreated, insulted, or physically victimized by Mignogna's actions. ANN also published photos of the actor embracing young autograph seekers. The article consolidated and legitimized the social media posts. I don't get a lot of great sleep working on these types of stories, Loveridge tells me, recounting the hours of research and the ethical quandaries behind her reporting. You have to almost disconnect emotionally to make sure you're seeing everything from all sides. The all sides statement turned out to be untrue. This is true, as users were threatened with bans from Anime News Network forums for calling the evidence into question and airing open support for Mignogna, while the website's editors went out of their way to attack and call YouTubers alt-right and Nazis. Who could they be talking about? Oh, I remember this. Yeah, hey, they were talking about us and our very neutral stance on the Vic situation last month. Yeah, because they're ace reporters, they are. So we did point out that, yeah, they used false information to construct the story. We did, including images used without permission from convention goers who never claimed to have been abused by Mignogna. This is true. Actually, some of his fans had their picture taken with Vic and Anime News Network. that bastion of journalistic integrity, decided they were going to use those images to make a case for why Vic is a predator. The misuse of the information and misinterpretation of the facts were covered in a recent video by Hirohei. Okay, so he talks about the Japanese article, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. I'm trying to play catch up. Regardless of how spurious the information was, the fact that some of the people making these allegations were debunked as fabrications, when the evidence didn't link up with their testimonies, both Funimation and Rooster Teeth proceeded to fire Vic from their current and future projects, and a variety of anime conventions canceled Mignogna's appearance, practically ending his career in the industry. And it was quick. It was within like a week. Like, Vic's career was over within a week. All it took were rumors. From where I'm sitting, I haven't seen much substantiation of any of the rumors, and I've seen faked evidence by Anime News Network, and Vic's career is essentially over. And yeah, it's just absolutely insane. Japan Times brushes over Mignogna's lawsuit, failing to explain why it started and the money it has raised. Instead, the website focuses on the people who have been supporting Mignogna, paying them as harassers, writing, as with other allegations of misconduct in the Me Too era, the rhetoric spewing from the Mignogna affair grew ugly fast. In the hothouse horror show of social media, accusations presume guilt without proven evidence or legal proceedings, and defenses turned vitriolic, personal, and infantile. Former Funimation Productions marketing director Lance Highschool, a con exhibitor for over a decade, says the reactions from the pro-Vic people harassing the people who came forward with their story has been severe. The backlash is cruel. Yeah, there has been some backlash against people who have been proven to be falsifying evidence against Vic. That is, from where I'm sitting, what is actually going on. And there has been, blowback against some of these people because some of the evidence was not legit, including, as they mentioned later in the article, the fabricated swatting hoax. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Now, we haven't really gotten into the nitty gritty of the drama on Twitter. It's not something we really want to do, but we still are keeping an eye on this story from a general news perspective, because I think the fallout from this situation is going to be eroded consumer trust in Funimation, and right now they really don't need it. They really don't need it. And if Funimation takes a hit, then the rest of the American anime industry takes a hit, because Funimation right now is the biggest player. There's a lot of talk online about boycotting Funimation. A lot of people not happy with Funimation right now because of this. A lot of people not happy with Anime News Network, present company included, not real happy with them. And we never got an apology either. They just doubled down. So yeah, I mean, this is just, it's just reached peak crazy. But now it seems like Anime News Network is running to its friends in Japan to kind of poison the well over there before the Japanese press really takes a look at what's going on. So again, the article finishes up here. Japan Times seems to conveniently skip over key details while pushing a very specific narrative, which is light on facts. This is true. It's a very general article. This kind of one-sided narrative pushing by the media did not go unnoticed by the visitors of Japan Times, and in the comments section, people are calling out the outlet for following lockstep in sync with Anime News Network's alignment with the witch hunting of Vic. Okay, so I had the chance to talk to some folks in the animation industry who will remain nameless, but they did point out to me that Anime News Network right now is in a really interesting place. They have a lot of connections, obviously, in Japan. So they were actually part of the partly owned or sponsored by the Anime Consortium Japan, but that ended last year. And so now I think they're basically just, as I understand it, Bandai has some stake in the company, in Anime News Network, as a, I guess, as a mouthpiece for them in the West, but they're not really bankrolling it. So I think, from my understanding, again, this is, what I can make out from going to the website, is that Anime News Network is not in a terribly good place financially. If Vic does wind up suing them and he wins, we could effectively see the end of Anime News Network. And honestly, they're not doing themselves any favors. I mean, they're causing a lot of trouble behind the scenes. It seems like they're going to Japan now and causing a lot of trouble. What they hope to get out of it, I have no idea. But I mean, you know, it's not sitting well with anime fans. A lot of people are very much against this site now. You know, they don't have the funding of this anime consortium anymore. They seem pretty light on ads from what I can see on the site. I don't know where the money is coming from. But if fans turn on the American anime industry, they turn on Anime News Network, and they turn on Funimation, that's going to do some major damage. So let's go out here real quick, and I will put a link to this article in the description of this episode. And yeah, it pretty much just echoes everything Anime News Network has said. But this is interesting here toward the end. Viewed from Japan, the land that makes anime, the relentless attacks, counterattacks, provocations, and conspiracy theories on Twitter and YouTube begin to look like Shakespeare's villainous Iago run amok, spreading rumors and stirring up rage in pursuit of mutual destruction. Mutual destruction. So even though they've basically, yeah, here we're talking about ANN CEO, publisher Christopher McDonald, and talking about how conventions are going to scramble to deal with situation, this situation with, voice actors maybe getting a little too touchy-feely, but most of their sources seem to be very tied to Anime News Network and Funimation, right? Interesting. That's very interesting. So maybe it's Iago spreading rumors and stirring up rage. Japan hosts its own fan events, of course. The biannual comic market is the largest of its kind in the world. Numerous Japanese voice actors are also revered as superstars, yet similar tempests haven't hit home thus far. That's because domestic behavioral norms and expectations still hold firm despite globalization, the internet, and transcultural exchange, says Tokyo-based Michelle Lee, an interpreter and frequent North American congoer. I wouldn't be surprised if something is going on behind the scenes. But it's not likely we'll hear about it. So they're basically saying what? That Americans are motor mouths, and that's why we're hearing about this. But the comments, oh my god, people are not happy. Not happy with Japan Times, because again, just in reading this, you can see that it's all coming from Funimation, Anime News Network. They're getting their information from, look at this, Anime News Network, Anime News Network, if I do a search for ANN, look at all the instances, let's go back up here, that they mention ANN in the article. I mean, they are getting a lot of their information from ANN and Funimation, who absolutely have skin in this. They absolutely do not want Vic to win, because that could do some damage to Funimation and Anime News Network. So what is going on with Funimation right now? Why are they being so crazy? I really, again, this is speculation, but I think it's because Funimation is getting cozier with Hollywood, and I think that there's sort of the Hollywood Me Too movement is spreading to anime, because anime is going to go bigger. I think, we're seeing movies like Alita perform fairly well at the box office. There's word of a Gundam live action movie. Anime is definitely making a comeback. I mean, you look at Dragon Ball, grossed over $1 billion in 2018. That's crazy. A lot of that came from Broly too, right? A lot of it came from Broly. So there's big money in anime, and it's like the last, fandom that Hollywood hasn't completely pillaged yet. But with movies like Alita doing well, they're obviously going to turn an eye to manga and anime now. Just today it was announced Adult Swim and Crunchyroll are teaming up to bring more anime to TV, right? So yay, I guess it's Crunchyroll, but Funimation is involved in this somewhat too. So there's all kinds of stuff going on right now with Hollywood. You look at this article from Variety. This was, I believe, yesterday, and we're talking with Mike Hopkins, who is the Sony Pictures Entertainment chairman. Now, Funimation is owned by Sony. And he talks about how Sony is not going to jump into the streaming service market like Disney is with Disney Plus or Netflix. They're not going to create a competitor like that. They had Crackle. I don't know if anybody even watches Crackle anymore, but they had that. But they said after much debate, Hopkins and the Sony management team have concluded it's not worth plunging capital in the low-margin business of direct-to-consumer streaming, opting instead to super serve niche markets with products like anime streamer Funimation. So Funimation's definitely figuring into their plans. Again, this is just personal opinion, but I think, anime manga is going to go Hollywood, and so you're going to see more of the Hollywood attitude starting to infiltrate anime, which you're seeing with Vic and the Me Too movement, which tore through Hollywood last year. So I think you're going to see more and more of this. I think Anime News Network is probably trying to position themselves as being like the Variety or comicbook.com of the anime industry when anime does go Hollywood, and they're trying to get themselves in there, ingratiate themselves. So we don't know where this is going to go. As things stand right now, my understanding is that Vic has lawyered up. He is going to be suing some people. I'm not exactly sure who he's suing at this point. Probably Funimation, probably Rooster Teeth, probably Anime News Network. And it'll be interesting to see what the fallout from this is. I do think that this situation is going to damage Funimation. I think it's going to damage Funimation. I think it's going to damage anime conventions, because people are going to support or not support certain conventions based on their support of this situation or non-support of this situation. And I think Anime News Network is absolutely going to be damaged by this. I think the entire industry may be damaged by this, because I think it's going to pick up momentum. Not just this instance, but the fact that we have people pushing into anime, pushing, again, the progressive politics and all of the weirdness that's associated with Hollywood right now, and they're pushing it into the anime industry. And I think you're going to see some blowback. I think you're going to see some fans just not reacting, not taking it very well. They're not going to take it very well. And we'll see where the anime industry is in a couple of years from now, if it's changed for the better, for the worse. I don't know. But tell you what, leave some thoughts in the comments. Please comment and subscribe to Clownfish TV for more pop culture news, views, rants, gaming videos, art videos, and more. We'll be back later with more videos. This has been Neon. Goodbye. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.